All right, let's go back to the menu. I'll just mention briefly about the homework. You can click on that to see a lengthier discussion, but I don't collect it. You do it because you're going to learn by doing it. And I'm going to mention that again when I talk about the exams in just a moment. Well, you know what? Let's go to the exams right now, and then we'll go back to some of the other things. Let's see. Exams. Exams. We're talking about the midterm and the final. Now, they will be scored out of 150 points. But and that's just because it's easy to grade out of 150 points. But because it's worth 30% of your grade, I have a program within the WebCT that will then scale it to be worth 800 points. That means that the midterm alone is worth all of your tests. And the same is true for the final. It's also 800 points. So there's 1,600 points between those two. So it says down here, because they total 60% of the course grade, these exams should be your primary focus. Now, you can take the tests online. You'll take the quizzes, you'll take the tests. They are there to prepare you for the midterm, prepare you for the final. And these multiple choice quizzes and tests, you know, the problem is either all right or all wrong. But the midterm and the final exam, those are not multiple choice. Those are what we call show your work. And that means that you need to show step by step and then show your answer as well. You need to practice working out the problem step by step. That comes from doing the homework exercises, not in a sloppy fashion, but in a very neat fashion. And if you find that you use notes or the book on the test, then here's the truth about that. You will not be prepared for the midterm exam or the final exam. So if you take your book and you have it right there while you're taking a quiz or a test, I don't know. I'm not going to stop you from doing that. I'm just telling you that you might have really good test and quiz grades, but you'll get possibly a terrible midterm grade because you haven't really practiced it on your own without the book. The midterm is not open book, it's closed book. And so it's very important for you to be aware of that. Same thing for the final, that you need to show your work. And you cannot rely on the book, you can't rely on notes, you have to rely on what you know in your memory and what you've learned from the course at that point. So if you want to take your book and use it for the tests and the quizzes, fine, but I don't recommend it at all. All right, let me scroll down here a little. Oh, I just want to take you real quickly to the midterm web page. Let's take a look at that. I have a practice midterm. You can start this from the very beginning if you want, but this practice midterm is here for you to just see how you can do, and I recommend strongly that you don't use the book on this. And here are the exercises in a compact form. It's only 3 pages plus 2 pages for answers. Or I've written one with exercises with room to write, and I recommend that you actually download this and print it out. So it's 10 pages long plus 2 pages for answers. But here's the neat thing. I hope you think it's neat anyway, because I do. I have done step-by-step explanation of each and every exercise on the practice midterm. I did the same thing for the final. I actually go over this test online using the YouTube videos, just like I have right here. And you can check those out, and you can only need to check out the things maybe you don't understand, or you know, if you have trouble with something, then check out that video. How do I do this problem? And I've done that to help you prepare for the midterm and the finals. Same thing. I also happen to have here maps to the Norfolk College. Here's a street map. It's a Google map. Oh, no, it's not. It's a MapQuest map. And here is a map to the buildings that are on the Norfolk campus, Norfolk College, so you can see where it is that we have our midterms. Okay, let me go back. Let me go back to the menu. Let's see, I mentioned homework. Again, you want to do your homework because that's going to prepare you for your exams. Let's look at grading. Midterms 30%. I told you that. Final exam 30%. You have 8 chapter tests and they add up to about 25%, which is nice. You know, you do well on those. It's going to boost your grades, it's going to help. But again, the midterm and the final are where your real points come from. The most points come from. There are 28 quizzes and they add up to about 11%. And here's the thing, you can't really skip the quizzes. You have to do them because, as I mentioned earlier about the spring-loaded lessons and the quizzes, are you take a quiz and that's what gets you to the next thing. And we also have participation. So let's see. I do have a couple ways to get extra credit. You can read about that later. It's all related to section 6.6. Participation. That includes taking the syllabus quiz, then also reading messages, posting messages, or replying to messages. The lessons have questions in them that I sometimes will ask you to write on the discussion board. That's your participation. Okay, so let's go back to the menu. Lesson routine. When you get to WebCT, you'll see that we have the course content menu, and you can click on learning modules, and then you will find a lesson in there, lesson 0 to start, then lesson 1, and as you complete things, other lessons will start appearing. And I have a video about the lessons, and I think it's related to the spring-loaded lessons, but you can see that on the video page that I have so that you can see the different kinds of things that you can learn about. So I'll leave that to you to take some time to become familiar with how the lessons work. Let's see, our pace will need to be about 1 lesson every 5 or 6 days. 5 to 6 days, including weekends and holidays. Let's see, don't fall behind. That makes sense, right? We talked about that. And, oh, you know what? Look at this. It's a good idea to write the lessons schedule on your personal calendar. So just put that in, you know, these soft deadlines, and then the hard deadlines that you need to do for the midterm and the final. I mentioned again the spring-loaded lessons. Talk about that. Let's see. Oh, I mentioned this several times. This class moves quickly, so stay on top of it on a regular basis. Let's look at quizzes and tests, and this will be the last thing we do. Within the course, there are 28 quizzes worth 10 points each. They're all multiple choice. There are online multiple choice chapter tests. Most of them are worth 100 points. Chapter 7 is worth 50 points. Test 3, for the chapter 3, is a paper test and worth 25 points, but you'll read about that in lesson 5. I mentioned the midterm and the final. Here's the nice thing, and you can thank me now or thank me later, either way. I give you 2 chances at each quiz and at each test. 2 chances. So you take the quiz once, maybe you do well on it, maybe you don't, then you can take it a second time. So I give you a 30-minute period of time where you cannot go back in and take that quiz immediately. You have to have some downtime before you can take it again. Same thing for the tests. There's plenty of time to take them, 60 minutes for each quiz, and I usually give 3 hours for the tests. You know, whatever it is that you need to finish, it's not a problem. All right, let's go back to the menu. Well, I think I've talked about everything here that's most important. The things that I haven't talked about, I expect you to do some reading on that in the syllabus, just so you can become familiar with it. I hope this has been helpful and not too boring. I guess if you actually get this far in the video and have heard my voice, then you weren't so bored that you know, just turned it off. So I appreciate that. I do have other videos that you should see about the course. I've got the spring-loaded lessons. I have a video on the quizzes and tests and how they work and other things. I wish you well, and I hope this was helpful to you. See you next time.